Hello and welcome back to UCL Review, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from the best sporting competition in the world, which it very much proved to be tonight.
Definitely.
An evening of action. Joining me, it's James Wayne. Wayno, we're kicking off with the Dortmund versus Sevilla game before we get on to the madness in Turin. What went down?
A little bit of madness in this one, to be fair. Dortmund confirmed their place in the quarterfinals after drawing 2-2 against Sevilla, but obviously went through because of their previous 3-2 win in the first leg. The 1997 champions were without Jadon Sancho, who'd been ruled out for several weeks, a massive loss, and it was very obvious in this game that they were missing him. Gio Reyna was also out and Rafa Guerreiro, but Haaland was deemed fit for this game after coming off in Der Klassiker in the 60th minute for a very strange one. I think it was an ankle cut, but he was definitely fighting fit for this game. We didn't really know what to expect from Dortmund in this game. They've won 6 of Terzic's 13 league games, losing 5. And they're 6th in the Bundesliga, 4 points off 4th place Eintracht Frankfurt. So they have been, haven't really improved since the sacking, but the announcement of Marco Reus has given them a slight boost, so there's something to look forward to there. But yeah, as we said, we didn't really know what we were expecting, and they started this game really, really badly. It was really sloppy. Very noticeable moment was Emre Can, who I have a lot to say about in this game, but I'll keep it as stum as I can. Just passing it. I can't remember who it was to, but in their own third and giving away a very, very good chance. But they were very, very sloppy. Sevilla, much the better side. They looked like they wanted it. They were hungry for the ball. They were playing much, much better football, and that stayed the way until the kind of 35th minute, when who else but Haaland slotted away a Royce cutback, and it was a brilliant goal. I mean, really against the run of play. They out of nowhere started to press, won the ball back. I can't remember who it was who actually won the ball back. Got to Royce and it got to Haaland. But Haaland, it just shows his awareness in the box. He to be fair, I wasn't expecting that kind of cutback. It was quite sharp, if you want to say. It was to the near post, but the way he got there, he knew what was going on. It was telepathic. It was beautiful. I really, really enjoyed that goal. And then Dortmund came alive, and this kind of stayed that way until the 54th minute, when, and I have to read this because it was a bit mad. So Haaland had played a really lovely 1-2 into the box, got himself into the box, absolutely bodied Fernando. And the ball fumbled a little bit, but he maintained control and finished really, 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 really lovely finish from a tight angle. Celebration started, but the goal was ruled out because they deemed. I thought I actually would have given the goal if I was a ref in this, because they deemed what I would have deemed a shoulder to shoulder, a push in the back. So that goal was chalked off. But in that VAR review, they called back to well over a minute of game time when Koundé had actually pulled Haaland's shirt. Now, I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. Looking back, it was a definite pull, but it's a strange one because it was so far back. It was a moment that I didn't remember. It didn't stick out in my mind.
Didn't seem like it was in the same phase of play, yeah.
No, definitely not in the same phase of play. So the penalty was awarded and saved by Bono, who afterwards saved it again. And then there was another block, I think, by Fernando. It was a really good sequence of defensive play. And the ball went out. Bono giving the big uns to Haaland as he went away. But, play moved on. Sevilla went into the Dortmund box, and then the whistle blew again. Another VAR. Keeper was off his line, so it had to be retaken. Very frustrating to watch, considering, personally, I thought the first goal should have been given. I didn't think they should have done anything further. They should have allowed the goal and carried on with the game. But this time, Haaland scored, netting his 20th Champions League goal. Now, he's the fastest and the youngest player to reach 20 Champions League goals. I think the fastest, he took that off Harry Kane. I can't remember. You wrote it down for me, Dougie, but I've already forgotten it because I've deleted it as well.
I think Kane did it in maybe like 23 or 24 games.
23.
And Haaland's done it in, 14?
14. And now he becomes the first player to score 2 or more goals in 4 consecutive Champions League games. This boy cannot stop scoring. I genuinely think we've got, in terms of the Champions League anyway, a new Messi Ronaldo kind of battle in Mbappe and Haaland, in terms of one just such a silky, beautiful player to watch, and one just an absolute Champions League goal machine. You can't stop the boy. But after that penalty was converted, Haaland gave the big uns back to Bono, and the tempers kind of raised a bit. Dortmund were playing well. Sevilla were playing not as good. I think they kind of lost their way a bit, especially after that first goal. They lost their way. And it took substitute Luke de Jong to win a penalty in the 67th minute. A very stupid push by Shan. Absolutely no need for it. Converted very, very well by En-Nesyri. Very kind of scary penalty, if that makes sense. But Sevilla finished like they started. They were absolutely on top of Dortmund. But even with a En-Nesyri bullet header, he got his second in the game. In added time, it just wasn't enough to win. They did dominate possession, 69%, got 18 shots, 7 on target to Dortmund's 5, 4 on target, and had an 86 pass accuracy, pass success rate I should say, to the Germans' 68, just showing how in those moments bad Dortmund were. I genuinely am surprised they've got out of this game. I would say alive, that sounds a bit harsh, but they were really, really sloppy, and in the Champions League against a bigger team, they will get picked apart very, very easily. But this does continue their fantastic home record. They've unbeaten in 7 home games in the Champions League going into this, so luckily they get to keep some form of kind of momentum going forward. And Terzic is now the 4th German manager to win his first 2 Champions League games, with the previous 3 all going to the final that season. Although I don't think it's going to happen this one. They were too sloppy. I think they were quite lucky to get out of this. And Sevilla will be quite disappointed, I think, Dougie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it continues a really poor run of form for them as well. They'd won 9 consecutive games going into the first leg, but they've now lost 4 of their last 5. And that run also includes them missing out in the Copa del Rey final after they lost 3-0 to Barcelona. A lot of commentators and people that I follow on Twitter just saying Lopetegui got his tactics all wrong in that game and was far too defensive. And that run of form has also seen them, which includes a poor run in the league as well, has seen the gap cut between them and 5th place Real Sociedad to just 3 points, although they do have a game in hand. And it continues their very poor record of overturning first leg deficits. They have now gone out every time they have lost the first leg, versus Real Madrid in 1958, against Fenerbahce in 2008 and Bayern in 2018. And it was a desperate performance in both good and bad ways. They started pretty well and finished well, but the goal, which was against the run of play, put a stop to that, with many of their players suddenly sort of seemingly losing their heads around the sort of Haaland theatrics, as it were. And he was definitely too much for them all night. They couldn't handle him in the slightest, and he really got in their head, as we say, and sort of destabilised their momentum. And key performers in this game, well, you've got to give a shout out to Erling Haaland. 2 shots, 2 goals, 1 key pass, 1 dribble, but felt like he did much more than that if you were watching the game as well. Bellingham was also very solid, 2 dribbles with a 100% success rate and 6 tackles as well. Great contribution from the guy, from the young Englishman still learning his trade in the best competition in the world. En-Nesyri was probably Sevilla's main man, 2 goals, 3 shots and 2 key passes. BVB have now reached their first quarter-final in 4 attempts, last making it in 2016-17 when they lost 6-3 to Monaco. And don't bet against that sort of scoreline in the quarter-final either way. They conceded a lot of goals, but in Haaland, in Reus, in Sancho, who might well be back by then, in Torgan Hazard, of course, Julian Brandt, they do have the weaponry to hurt any team. Up next for Dortmund, well, they play relegation-threatened Hertha Berlin on Saturday, while Sevilla host Real Betis in the Seville derby on Sunday. Betis have lost just 1 of their last 10 games, so another massive test for Sevilla as they look to pick themselves out after this bruising encounter with the Terminator. Guys, what did you think of Haaland's display? And do you think Dortmund could go far in this year's competition, or do you think the quarterfinal will be the end of their run? Let us know in the comments down below, and let's move on to the Juventus game.
So we had the starter that was Dortmund versus Sevilla, now into the main course, the most thrilling game for a long, long time. Juventus-Porto. Dougie, just start us off.
Yeah, I mean, we've been spoilt over the last few years in the Champions League with Barcelona-Roma, Barcelona-Liverpool, Spurs-Ajax, numerous others as well, but this for me was right up there. I mean, Juventus have exited the Champions League at the last 16 stage for the 3rd consecutive season on away goals after beating Porto 3-2 at home, with goals from Sergio Oliveira, who scored 2, Federico Chiesa, who scored 2, and Adrien Rabiot in a truly mental game. Now, no one really knew what to expect from Juve. They had won 6 of their last 8 league games, but they were actually dreadful in the first leg in Portugal. Didn't get going until about the 75th minute, and they came a cropper. I mean, a lot of that, the damage was done in that first leg, I feel. I mean, Porto in this definitely had the better of the first half. Juve barely troubling them, bar a brilliant Marquezin save from a Morata header. I mean, Marquezin was playing like a man possessed the entire night. And Porto had the lead after 18 minutes. Taremi got tackled from behind by a sloppy Demiral challenge. A lot of people saying on Twitter that Taremi sort of asked for it. I thought it was very clever centre-forward play. Demiral was it was a sort of unnecessary challenge, I felt. And it did deserve to be a penalty. And Sergio Oliveira tucked away his penalty. That was his 4th goal in 7 matches. Of course, he then got his 5th later on in the game. Juve, though, did come back into it after 48 minutes. Ronaldo laid off the ball to Chiesa, who scored his 3rd goal in 6 matches. That was Ronaldo's 82nd goal involvement in his last 78 knockout games. How incredible is that? 67 goals and 15 assists. But as we're going to come on to later in James's little section, it wasn't his best night by any means. Now, on 54 minutes, the game seemingly changed, and everyone thought Juventus are going to steamroll from here because Taremi got sent off for a 2nd yellow card for kicking the ball away. Now, anyone that remembers Robin van Persie against Barcelona in the Nou Camp in, I believe, about 2011 will remember this. So Van Persie boots the ball away but couldn't hear the referee's whistle, and then boots the ball away, but the baying Nou Camp crowd made sure he couldn't really hear the whistle. This was very different. Taremi, obviously no fans in the stadium, would have heard the whistle, kicked the ball away, and was given a 2nd yellow card for time wasting. Not something you really want to see in a game of this magnitude, but he probably had to go. But I was still disappointed for him. 9 minutes later, Chiesa netted his 2nd, heading home from a brilliant Cuadrado cross, who was absolutely phenomenal all night, Juan Cuadrado. And then 91 minutes, Morata had the potential winning goal ruled out for offside. 2 minutes later, Cuadrado hit the bar, and then it got to extra time. Sergio Oliveira scored a magnificent free kick, arrowing it under the wall, and then Rabiot popped up with a goal that made it potentially interesting, but Juve still needed to get an extra goal in the last few minutes, and De Ligt went up front, and there was just so many challenges flying in. Szczesny made some phenomenal saves, Marquezin made some phenomenal saves. It was just a truly mental game that's actually impossible to sum up in a brief 2-minute section, to be honest. Both sides served up a feast of action. Juve had 68% possession. They had 31 shots with 13 on target, but Porto were no minnows in this. They had 14 shots and 7 on target and continued to trouble them even when they were down to 10 men. I mean, Moussa Marega had some fantastic efforts. Szczesny made some good saves from us as well. And Juve, I mean, to sort of sum up, Juve just haven't really shown it in the Champions League for quite a while now. They've only overturned 1 first-leg deficit in 7 attempts, which was against Atletico Madrid in the last 16 in 2018-19. So really troubling times for Juventus. Pirlo's job's going to be under threat, whether you believe he deserves to be fired or not after a disappointing leave campaign. Of course, they've still got the Coppa Italia final. But this, playing a 10-man Porto for 60-odd minutes, really, really damaging to his chances of keeping hold of the job. But James, for Porto, what a night.
Yeah, well, what more can you say than it being a magnificent night for Porto as they made their 2nd quarter-final in 3 years. Now, similarly to Juventus, they've had quite a disappointing domestic campaign. They're 10 points behind leaders Sporting, with 12 games left to go, and were knocked out of the cup competition by the same opponents. And going into this, their record in Italy was pretty awful. I mean, they've lost the last 6 Champions League away games in the country, their last win coming against AC Milan in 1996. They are still winless in their last 14 away games in Champions League knockouts. A very, very bad record to continue on into the latter stages, drawing 4 and losing 10. But I mean, after today, they won't really care. They played 66 minutes with 10 men and were magnificent defensively. But this does end a unwanted record too. They were eliminated in their last 3 previous ties where they were up in the first leg. So that's Arsenal in 2010, Malaga in 2012 and Bayern Munich in 2015. Now, some of their players were absolutely magnificent on the day. Sergio Oliveira, as we've mentioned before, 2 tackles, 2 aerial duels, 1 dribble, 2 key passes, 3 shots and 2 all-important goals. Man of the match, though, was definitely Marquezin, who made an incredible 10 saves, definitely keeping him in that game. And shout out to Pepe as well at his beautiful age, let's say. Let's not try and disrespect him too much. Putting in a brilliant performance, especially, having to do so much work with losing your man defensively. For Juventus, so Juan Cuadrado was absolutely phenomenal on the day. I don't think he could have done any more. I don't think anyone's done any more, to be fair, in a game. 6 tackles, 6 dribbles, 12 key passes. Please, somebody do some hunting. Is that the most key passes we've seen in a single Champions League game? I want to know, because that is phenomenal. 1 shot, 1 assist, and as we said before, he hit the bar. Now, it was an underwhelming performance for Cristiano Ronaldo. 1 key pass, 5 shots, 2 on target. I mean, he scored 92 goals and assisted 21 in 120 games for his club, but I mean, they're no closer to winning the Champions League. I mean, does he need to leave? Juventus kind of bought him in for the Champions League. I mean, even in this game, you could say he was at fault for the final final Porto goal, kind of turning his, not putting his body on the line, let's say, for the free kick. As he was in the ball, he turned his back and it kind of dribbled through his legs. Does he need to leave for both himself and Juventus, in a sense? Because as I said before, that they did buy him to win the Champions League, and they're nowhere near closer to winning the Champions League with Ronaldo. Up next for Juventus, they travel to Cagliari on Sunday, hoping to cut that 10-point gap to Inter Milan, while Porto plays 5th place Pacos Ferreira on Sunday. Now, Dougie, as we kind of mentioned, does Ronaldo need to leave? Do Juventus need him? Like, they're not doing well at all. Yeah, everything's a bit of a mess.
It's a bit complicated, to be honest. I think at his age, he's such a phenomenal athlete. I think he's at least got 3 or 4 years left at the top, and obviously being so fiercely competitive, being so highly successful, and being so efficient for Juventus as well. Like, his scoring record and assisting record is phenomenal at Juve. But is he going to challenge for the top titles at Juve? Is he going to get close to a Champions League in the next 2-3 years? I struggle to see it, to be honest. I mean, their best players today were Juan Cuadrado and Federico Chiesa, but other than that, most of their side were fairly average. And it seems like they've got a lot of players over the hill and a lot of players coming through, but not many players in their peak who seem to have enough to make the difference at this stage. And Ronaldo on 30 million euros per year. Could Juventus do without that in a year where their finances are so badly affected by COVID? We've already seen their chairman, Andrea Agnelli, trying to ignite more talk about a European Super League or restructuring the Champions League to change their finances. Do they need Ronaldo for another 2-3 years, or do they need to invest in more, spread that money across their side to get them closer to a Champions League? I'd probably suggest yes. And for Ronaldo, I think he could do very well somewhere else. The only issue for him is with Barcelona, Real Madrid's finances in such disarray. I just don't know where he's going to really go. But, Bayern Munich don't need him. I can't see him returning to Man United. They look like they're going to try and target Erling Haaland. Same with Man City. Can't see him going to Chelsea. Definitely don't see him going to Liverpool, really. So I just don't see where he goes. But guys, we want your opinions on Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you think he's been a success at Juventus, even if he doesn't win the Champions League? And does he need to leave this summer to get his hands on the Big Ear trophy once more? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's all we've got time for on UCL Review for this week. Actually, no. I'll be back tomorrow with Michael McCubbin tomorrow morning. But for today's episode at least, James, if they've enjoyed this, what should they go and watch now?
Yeah, well, if you enjoyed this, make sure you check out tomorrow's episode. Euro transfer talk went out yesterday, so kind of keeping your ear on the ground. Is it your ear on the ground? It is your ear on the ground for all kind of gossip going on around Europe. And just stay on the channel. We've got plenty of European content. If you like it, stay.
Good man, good man. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time. Bye.